This interview was done entirely in ASL. Myself and the interviewee were voiced by the wonderful volunteer SSPs, male and female, respectively. This was difficult to edit between the voicing and ASL, so it is longer than normal. Enjoy!
Hello, my name is Kit. Welcome to Femme. I'm here now at the DeafBlind Shabbaton event in Baltimore. And I'm interviewing Stephen Frank. The reason I'm interviewing him is because he's come to this Shabbaton many times.
Frank's, yeah, technically it's Reisterstown.
Thank you. So I'd like to start and say hello. Steve Frank, tell me about why you're interested in coming to this show.
And this DeafBlind Shabbaton actually started April 23rd to the 25th in 2010 at the Pearl Stone Retreat Center in Reisterstown, Maryland, which is close to Baltimore. So it was a small group, but it was new and everyone enjoyed themselves and they saw the workshops and looked around and it got a good education and a lot of opportunities to socialize with each other. And then for the second time was a year later, and that was in November 2011. So it grew a little bit to 13 individuals. So that was good. It started to grow. And then they've taken a few changes at that time. And then for the third Shabbaton, that was in June 2013. And I believe at that time there was 17 people who came that were deafblind. And then 2 years ago was in June 2005, and there were 19 people. 2015. Sorry, 2015, 19 deafblind. And there were four from Israel. We came all the way from Israel. And now I believe we have 3 this year who are from Israel. 2 of them are twins who are deafblind. And I met them. So I really enjoy meeting them. And then yesterday and last night, we learned about the history of the Shabbatons. And, since 2010. And there are a few people who've been here every year since 2010. One is Jeff Borman. And then there were 6 original people that were at the first Shabbaton that are still here this year. And, several deafblind people live far away. And, it's only 2 nights, so it's a short event. And, it costs a lot of money for people to fly far away. So really people prefer for it to be 3 or 4 nights. But, for the interpreters and SSPs, ever since 4 years, it's been a wonderful experience. It's come together really well. And some people go to another deafblind camp right before, and they do that, and then they come here. But here we're able to pray and socialize with each other. There's workshops. So it's a good balance of different activities. And you get to pick, sometimes the prayer is optional.
So I'd like to ask, why is the Shabbaton important for the deafblind Jewish community?
there's several people who are involved in organizing. It's not my idea to start it. There was Cheryl Cooper and Rabbi Liederfriend, and it was really their idea that they said deafblind people need to have a time to expand their Jewish education and learn about their Jewish culture and be able to socialize with each other. That's very important. And so, and leadership opportunities too. And so I remember the first one, and I'm getting older, so I feel like younger people need to step up into a leadership role. I see a lot of younger folks who are 18, 19, 20, so I'm hoping that it will keep going with the younger generation. Some deafblind aren't comfortable with the prayer, I don't know, but they try and they encourage. If you're not comfortable, nothing is forced on you. And so you can sit and interact with each other, socialize. And you don't have to be Orthodox to pray. It's open to all different sects of Judaism. And there's also plenty of time to sit around and you're able to learn about your Judaism from the rabbis and there's Jewish people that are here.
And we learned the prayer of the Shema.
And we've learned the prayer of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And I remember yesterday with the rabbi, and he was teaching us all the prayer. And it's great to be able, and we are all able to try to do the prayer together. And then the Shema that we learned yesterday, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, and we all recited it together.
So when people go home, is it hard to continue their learning?
When I go home, for me, I've really enjoyed the Shabbaton, the whole weekend, all the activities, and meeting everybody, meeting and seeing new friends here. And then, I remember yesterday that Cheryl Cooper passed out rare copies of prayers that we were able to read and keep to be able to bring home to read when we have the time. And it was printed on both sides. And then Cheryl Cooper, was able to read it and then pass it out, so we all had the copies in Braille. But 3 or 4 years ago, the rabbi also handed out a huge stack of prayers that I really didn't have time to read, and then there was I didn't have a lot of time to read it, so I had to put it to the side, and I only read a few pages of that. And then other campers, at the other camps I've also really enjoyed that experience as well. I hope that's clear. Okay.
Do you think more deafblind Jewish people might come in the future?
That's a really good question. This year is the 5th time. So I do hope that deafblind Jews continue to come every 2 years that we have it. And the first time, or I don't know, there's maybe other things that are happening too, and maybe that's the reason some can't come. But there's also this year many new people and folks from before that keep coming.
Many participants didn't come.
But also many past participants didn't come this year, and I'm not really sure why. Some chose not to return. Some come one year and then don't come the next. And you might have to do with the advertising. I had a couple recommendations of ways to get the word out more through social media and Facebook to be able to contact more deafblind Jews, and through the World Federation of Deafblind. And it's amazing that people all the way from Israel were able to come here with Usher syndrome, and then there was and then some people are not able to afford it, but there are 2 twin boys from Israel that were able to come here for the first time, and that was really great to be able to meet both of them. And they're, both twins who are deafblind and from Israel, and I hope to see them again in 2 years. I don't know if they'll decide to come back. And then they're going to be in college, so I'm not sure what their plans will be later on. And at Gallaudet, they're going to be in college at Gallaudet. It's quite expensive, so we'll see what their situation will be like in 2 years from now. If they're in school, busy with their studies, I'm not sure.
So more questions for you. What is your favorite part of the Shabbaton?
Well, my first number 1 favorite part is the morning prayer. That's what what happens is the morning prayer. And then they have the prayer service in the morning, and then they have the games called Jeopardy. And then there's different opportunities to learn through the workshops. And then on the schedule, they have several workshops that are planned. The food is good. The meals are all very good. And the socializing opportunities, that's a great part of it. And to be able to walk outside. There's a farm here, and in the afternoon we take a walk around, and we see the parts of the farm. They have all different animals, and they have goats. And then at one point the goats are born, so we're able to feed the baby goats, and they eat out of your hand, so very cute. And then
I think that's the first time I saw
I think that's the first time that I had ever seen a baby goat before, so I really enjoyed that part of it, to be able to walk around in the area, the retreat center, and the prayers.
I honestly can't pray that much.
Honestly, I don't pray that much. That's not my focus. But there's Orthodox Jews that are here, so they go out and they pray for part of the time, and I enjoy some of the other activities.
Okay, another question for you. The last question. That sometimes people are nervous about coming to an event like this. What would you say to those people?
People who are what? Yes, I remember when I went to the DeafBlind camp. That was 4 years ago. And then there were I asked, are there other Jewish deafblind here? And they said, yeah, there are a few. And so I said, hi. I introduced myself. I said, I'm Jewish. I forget what their names were. But I asked them, do you know about the DeafBlind Shabbaton? And they didn't know. And so I was able to tell them about it. And then I got their contact information, their email, and then I sent it to Cheryl Cooper. And then I go to the DeafBlind camp in other states, in Washington State, and I asked them, do they know about it, the deafblind Jews that were there, and I shared their contact information. I was able to add them to the listserv through Cheryl Cooper. And I have 2 more deafblind camps that I go to. One is in Seattle, called CPEC, and the other one is in Atlanta. And so I tried to stand up in front of everybody and see if there's any Jews there to give them information about the Shabbaton. So I think that's a good idea to get the word out. Is anyone afraid or nervous about coming? I don't know. You know, maybe the prayer part maybe intimidates people. But I explained that, no, the prayer is not required. It's really just about enjoying each other. And if you're religious, or if you're not very religious, you're Reformed. If you're Orthodox, doesn't matter. It's open to everybody. And, in 2010, the deafblind who came, they were Orthodox and they were praying, and I saw that. And I was a little bit, I didn't really understand what was happening, but I came back again.
They might not have come back again.
Or maybe some of them maybe weren't comfortable and didn't come back again. I'm not sure. But maybe they misunderstood what was going on. But, I hope for the future that, deafblind are able to continue to interact, and people that want to pray, people that don't can interact with each other, and, there's plenty to do here. So everyone should just try whatever they liked. Keep trying in the future.
So that's all for me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we will see you again.
Thank you. And thank you for helping with interpreting. The SSPs were wonderful. And I'm excited to see more of this event later. Tell you more about this event later.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye. I love you.